Hi, and welcome to The Point. I'm your host, Duane Carey. The Point is an interview show that features one interesting guest for 10 minutes or less. We start with a quick introduction. We end with the guest giving a shout out, and that 7 or 8 minutes in between is where they make their point. I'm very happy today to have with us actually my favorite public speaker. Every time I get to hear Mary Ann speak, I take advantage of it. But Mary Ann Scully, the CEO and board chair of Howard Bank. Mary Ann, welcome.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. It's been a while. Thanks for being here.
I'm glad to be here. I'm honored. Thanks.
Great. So let's get right to it. What is your point?
So I think that we're facing clearly an economic crisis, and banks face economic crises periodically, and I've seen a number of them over the course of my career. They all impact human beings. This one's different because it started with the human body. So it started as a human crisis that then led to an economic crisis that is now going to, like all economic crises, magnify that negative impact on human beings. And because of the unique nature of this human body crisis, we're talking a lot about technology and virtual and how are we going to socially distance ourselves and what are we going to use to contact trace. And I think we're losing sight of the fact that if it's a human crisis, you still need to deal with it through human interaction. And that's always been our philosophy, as you know, at Howard Bank. It's always been a very high touch, face-to-face, interactive type of approach. And we've thought about it and talked about it and said, we all need as human beings to continue to try to interact with each other on a very human level. It hasn't been easy. The payment modification process, the payment protection plan, they look like they're cookie cutter solutions. They are not. They involve hand-to-hand combat, as I say, on the one hand with the SBA E-Tran system, on the other hand, trying to help a small business who maybe has never borrowed before understand, what do I need to tell you? What do I need to think about if I really do want this loan forgiven? What do I need to do to make sure that my business survives? And it's all about being human again.
So that's a very interesting perspective that I haven't heard yet. How do you see that manifesting itself? So here's Howard Bank, who's always kind of been that way, very hands-on and touchy-feely, metaphorically. Do you see a lot of other industries changing to follow that, particularly in banking? How maybe some of the big banks, will they adopt an approach like that?
I think the big banks have, in some cases, struggled to do this, and part of it is the sheer volume. I mean, one of the wise things the government did in this case, unlike what they've done in previous crises, was to understand that the banks didn't cause this problem, but the banks could help the country get out of the problem. So you use the power of the government, because forgiveness is basically a government grant, but you combined it with the banking distribution system. But you have millions of customers trying to come into this program. And the natural solution is, if you're really big and you're really a national company, is let's use our technology to do this. And one of the first decisions that we made was, we're not going to put an electronic front end in front of this. We are going to do the hand-to-hand combat by having all of our people, all of our branches, all of our commercial bankers, all of our credit officers, a bunch of our technology officers on the phone with our customers, explaining to them, here's what this form means, here's what we need from you, we will help you fill it out, and trying to think ahead. Here's what you need to be thinking about, because you really don't want this 1% loan on your books at the end of 8 weeks. You want the loan forgiven. You want your employees back. So we made a decision not to enable it with technology and to just put people in contact with all of those customers.
Which probably cost me an inordinate amount of money relative to what other people were having to invest. But obviously that's a corporate decision you're making though, because
It did, but it also gave us an early jump on things. And remember the first round, the second round's gone much more slowly, but the first round was gone, disappeared in 16 days. Everybody knew that would happen. And so people were really nervous. And doing something early was really important. And eventually, much larger companies ended up, as they should, at the power of the banking distribution system, doing many more loans than we did. But interestingly, the program opened at midnight on a Friday. And by Monday, when they published the initial results, we were the third largest lender in the state of Maryland.
wow.
And it's because we didn't have to gear up the technology, that we didn't have websites failing. We just had people Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 16 hours a day. It ended up being 7 days a week during that time period on the phone with people. We had branch managers that at 9 o'clock at night, we would say, go home, it will be here tomorrow. And the passion that they had was unbelievable. They literally would say, if the system's not going down until midnight, the E-Tran, the SBA system, I'm going to stay here till midnight because I want these people to get their money.
Wow.
I don't want the program to run out of money before they get it.
That's really fantastic. And especially because primarily your client base is local, regional businesses.
It is. It's always been, as you know, small and medium-sized businesses. That's always been our focus. But the other thing that's a little bit different about this crisis is that I think it presents almost an existential threat to small businesses more than large businesses. There are certainly large retailers that are going to see their business models fail, but at the end of the day, it's the small businesses that don't have a lot of human capital, don't have a lot of financial capital, whose whole existence is threatened.
Do you see that threat being more about consumer behavior or more about policy? I mean, the governments by necessity have been choosing winners and losers, really. I would imagine a lot of your clients are competing with some of the very large businesses that have been allowed to stay open, and they haven't. What has been your experience with that?
It depends, I think, on the industry. Certainly the retailers, if you don't have a connection to Amazon, have been more damaged than some others have. Certainly restaurants, but that's large restaurants as well as small or at ground zero. I think the reason why small businesses become so threatened in something like this is because they don't have the depth of resources. They don't have the 6 months sitting in the bank. They don't have that resiliency from a financial standpoint. And the great thing about this program was it buys some time.
Yes.
It buys some time.
Okay, so believe it or not, we're actually coming up on our 10 minutes here. Thank you for all that insight. Can you give us your shout out?
Yes, I'm obviously, as I alluded to, grateful to all of our people because we threw people at this as we always do. But the people I really want to shout out are our branch managers because of all Howard Bank employees, they are the ones that are not working from home. 80% of our workforce is working from home, hating it for the most part, but safe at home. Our branches are still open, drive-throughs, call-ahead meetings. They're dealing face-to-face, literally, not virtually, with customers. And so I worry about them. I worry more about their health and safety than anybody. And the fact that they've reacted the way they have, that they've jumped into it and not receded back from it, just makes me so proud and so grateful. So it's a shout out to all of our branches.
It's amazing. And as you know, because I sent one of my clients your way and you somehow helped him at the 11th hour, and it was one of your branches that you assigned to it, and they took care of him. They met him the next day. and he wasn't even a customer prior to that. So I think that says a lot about Howard Bank and your leadership and all of your team. So kudos.
Well, it
Mary
says a
Ann,
lot about relationships, Duane, because it was my relationship with you that prompted us to do that. So
well, that's probably true. Great. Mary Ann, thank you so much for your insight. It's great to see you. We really enjoyed it.
thank you. Keep up the good information. Take care, Duane.
Too. Thank you.